Here we go. Welcome on the wagon and everybody listening in to this evening's webinar. I have with me a guest who I have literally only just spoken to properly for the first time just a moment ago, Andrea Francis. Hi, Andrea. How are you doing this evening?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. Got to grips with the technology and everything's installed so we can talk and stream live at the same time. I'm going to let Andrea tell you about what she's doing and the reason why I asked her to come on here in just a moment. So, and we're just going to have a conversation about it really, because it's something that I'm very interested in. Not just what she's doing, but actually the mindset. And she might not even consider it as being mindset, but certainly the things that have been going on in her mind over the last few weeks, months, and years that have led up to the place where she is at the moment. So, Andrew, what is it? What is it that you're doing next month? Let's tell everybody what this amazing event is that you've got planned.
Next month in April the 7th, I'll be joining the Marathon des Sables, the team of going from quite a few going from the UK to run the 250k across the Sahara Desert. It's the multi-day stage self-sufficient race run over 6 days, where you carry all your own supplies, food, bedding, clothes, water, everything except the tent.
So 250k over 6 days. What does that work out? I know the days are uneven, but what is it on average per day that you're running?
There's, I think one day, the first day is something between 35 and 37. It's not quite sure yet until we get there.
Right.
And then another day, about 45k. Then you've got the long day, which is I think something like 70 to 80. It's about 60 miles. I worked it out. The long day, but you get 2 days for that. But one day is actually, the second day is actually the rest day. But if you go on to that day, then you can
so
go
over
on
6 days, you could, if you're able to do the 60 miles in one day, take a day of rest.
That's the day. Yeah, it's called the rest day, but a lot of people don't get the rest day.
So well, look, I mean, that's a pretty extreme thing to do, and I know other people who have done the Marathon des Sables. There's other multi-stage ultra marathons out there, but the Marathon des Sables is probably the most famous of all of them. And I know it's not even like there's so many crazy people out there. There's a big waiting list even to get onto the thing and do it. So when did you decide that you wanted to do this? And what was the moment where you said, that's for me, I'm going to do this?
It wasn't really. I never planned it. It was just something. I only started running 3 years ago, and I did a 10k, and I went from a 10k to signing up to a 100k ultra marathon after I did my 10k, because I was sort of buzzing, and it was a friend who actually said to me, you need to do something shorter in between. You haven't even done a marathon. And he turned up one day and he said, look, half a marathon with me, and I did that. And then I signed up for London and Brighton, and I got into them, and I did them they were my first 2 marathons in 2015, and I did them. And then after that, it was just a bit addicted, and I signed up to New York, and I got into New York, and then I signed up to Chicago. I signed not thinking I was going to get in, because they sort of popped up online, sort of Chicago Marathon, and I just thought, oh, look, I'll fill it all in, and I'm probably not going to get into this. And then a few months later, I got the emails for all of them. I did Berlin, Chicago, New York, and there's another one. Anyway, and I got into all of them. Wow. Last year.
So this is kind of let's just back up a moment, because I mean, you just glossed over the fact that you've only been running for about 3 years, and I wrote my book for beginner runners about 3 years ago, and I think back then to a lot of the guys and girls who started off with that program from scratch, and some from a kind of a base of experience, perhaps, for wanting to build up to that magic hour mark and doing the first 5K or the first 10K. And kind of thinking back to that time now, and kind of that was you almost. You built up your first 10K around then, about 3 years ago. And now fast forward 3 years to today, and you're about to go and do this crazy 250-kilometer Sahara Desert marathon. So tell me, when you've done your 10K, was it the elation of finishing that made you think, yeah, I've got the bug here. I want more of this. What's next? Or was there kind of a period of calm, and then you had this kind of moment of clarity where you decided? How was it what actually happened?
I think I did the 10K. I didn't find it particularly easy because I hadn't been running that long, so I didn't find it easy. But I'd done it, and I sort of had the buzz and the after feeling for it. I didn't sign up straight away, but then I started looking online, and then it was almost as though they were jumping out to me every time I went on Facebook online, and all of a sudden these sort of runs were sort of jumping out at me, and I saw I think it was London to Brighton, and I just sort of thought, oh, London to Brighton, not thinking about 100K or anything. And I just thought, oh yeah, I'd like to do that. And I signed up for it. And then this friend of mine said, do you realize how far that is? And, that's a bit of a crazy idea because you hadn't done a marathon yet. And I said, oh, I've got a year to sort of get ready for it. And I'm going to go to the gym, and I'll be fine. And I think most of everything I've signed up for, I've always gone in with that thought in my head, I'll be fine, because even if I have to walk to the end, I'm going to finish this. And I've never really thought, oh, I can't do this. And even when I've signed up to this Marathon des Sables now, right, it's 3 weeks before, I've not had any thoughts of I can't do it.
So okay,
I don't feel nervous.
This is fascinating. Where do you think that comes from? Because I'm suspecting that there's other areas of your life where this has showed up. This belief, absolutely unequivocal belief that you can do this. It's almost like it's done because you've decided that you're going to do it. Where else have you experienced that in your life?
I don't really know, because I haven't come from a sporty background at all. Got married at 18, and I went and I lived in North Africa. A completely sort of different lifestyle, where women didn't go to the gym, they didn't do sports or anything. So I lived in North Africa for 21 years, and when I come back here, 9 years later, because my relationship and everything all sort of changed, and I looked after my mum. I think that was part of the journey. My mum was terminally ill, and I looked after her for 6 months. And my sister asked me to do the Race for Life.
Right. Okay.
For my mum for cancer, and I said yes. And on the weekend that we were supposed to do it, I woke up that morning, and I thought, oh, I don't really want to do this, but I didn't have the nerve to tell my sister. But I'd had to drive for me.
Why didn't you want to do it?
I don't know. But what I'm going to tell you next is what happened. Okay. So I was at my mum's because I used to go down there. She was at Eastbourne. I used to drive down, stay the weekend with her, look after her. And I was down there. It was a Saturday, and I was down there. So I did tell my sister, I said, look, I don't feel like doing it. We can do this another time. And she said, all right. And that was about 9 o'clock that morning. And my mum actually died at 11 o'clock.
Wow.
That morning. And I wouldn't have been there if I'd have done the Race for Life.
Oh, well. Okay.
And I just find I just think that was meant to happen. And the next year we were going to do the race. My sister did the Race for Life, and I didn't do it. And the next year I did the walk, midnight walk, 20 miles.
Oh yeah.
I found the midnight walk, 20 miles walking, was much harder than running.
Really?
I wanted to run time. I wanted to run, and because you wasn't allowed to, because you had to walk. But I did. I found that really hard, and I said I'd never ever do that again. and and then I went on sort of a spiritual holiday to Nepal, trekking 7-day trek to the Annapurna circuit. And I think that's where I started walking and doing little jogs along the seafront, and that's how I started. And then when I come back, I carried on by myself because a friend came with me, but I carried on by myself. And I sort of just built my distance up. Like I went sort of from 3 miles to 5 miles, and then I remember getting to, and once I got the Garmin watch, that really sort of that really like inspired me, to just to go further, each time, and that was it. And then I started just signing up, and it was like a circle. I was just constantly signing up for all these half marathons, and last
It
year
sounds to me like you've been
I
getting an
actually,
awful lot more out of this than just the running and just the fitness that goes alongside running. It sounds like there's definitely a kind of an almost spiritual aspect to it. Kind of what is it that drives you? What is it that not just motivates you to join, because that seems to be almost spur of the moment and reflex action. As soon as you see an advert for a race coming up, it's like enter. So I don't, that's probably a problem you have. But when you're actually training for the event and doing it, what is it that drives you forwards and keeps you going?
I think me signing up for events always keeps me focused, and always keeps me challenged. And I know that I've got to, get myself ready for it. So it always gives me that drive. Whereas sometimes I think if I just didn't do anything for 6 months, I didn't want to lose that, just going out for runs by myself. And but I like that feeling of having something. I've got to train for this.
Yeah.
So many weeks to. I like that feeling, and I find that running, it's a bit like meditation.
Mm.
And when I run, I forget about everything, like anything like that. It just goes, and I never think about until I get back, and I'm just sort of looking at the scenery, looking at perhaps listening to my music, thinking about the miles, thinking about what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good for your mind, just and for balance. I found it really balanced my mind, and that's what I loved about it. Because sort of go out and then come back, and
Yeah, no, I'm currently in a phase of training for an ultramarathon myself, and a lot of the time when I'm going out there now, I'm sort of focusing on, exactly as you said, meditation. I've sort of been getting more into meditation over the last few years, and trying to almost replicate some of the full immersion in the present moment and allowing thoughts to come and go, but not dwelling on those thoughts as you're running. So there's definitely I think the rhythmical nature of running really helps me, and it brings a real sort of levity and a different kind of a different level to the running. I find to my experience rather of running, compared with just focusing, as I've previously done with thinking about a scan through my body, and I think about how my calves, how my Achilles, how am I landing on my foot. I think about my lean. I think about my breathing. I still think about those things now. It's done almost from a subconscious level, and absolutely with you, kind of it's that headspace just to get out and have that time by yourself is incredible. Now, Andrew, you mentioned something a moment ago. You said that the 20-mile walk you did, you found really hard, and said you'd never do that again. Yeah. When you've been training for the Marathon des Sables, what have you found? What challenges have you had on the way, like, during the process of training and preparing yourself for it?
Well, since I signed up for it last year, I got in on the waiting list because it was full up, and then I actually got my place about March last year, and then as soon as I knew that I'd got it, I was already signed up for like Chicago but Athens. I did Athens as well. I was already signed up for them, so I had all these like little half ones in between, and then I did my training ones, like 13-mile ones, and I do spinning. So I used to do double spin class in the mornings, about 3 times a week. But I had to fit it. I found it quite difficult to fit it in with my work because I'm a carer and I sometimes work shifts, sometimes work nights, and I found the nights was the worst thing because I'd sort of come home, um, and I'd be really, really tired, and I'd really need to train, and I couldn't. So sometimes I wasn't always consistent. It
Right.
wasn't always consistent, but the last 3 months, I've had to. I thought, well, I've really, I want to do this. I want to do it as good as I can, and
Mhm.
put into it as much as I can. So I sort of cut my hours right down. For right up until I go. So I'm not doing the nights now. So I'm much better.
Right.
I'm not my energy and sort of mentally as well. So I did that, and but you still got things like family. 'Cause I've got 4 daughters, I've got 2 grandsons I have to look after at the
Right.
weekends, and so the weekends, like I've got my grandson staying. I've got a treadmill in my bedroom, so I try and get on the treadmill. Like most recently, the last 6 weeks, I've done a 10K in the morning and perhaps a 10K in the afternoon, and if I can, while they're there. And then as soon as they go home on the Sunday, I've gone out and done a 13 mile and then perhaps gone to the gym. Or if I hadn't gone out, I've actually gone to the gym on the treadmill because I find it easier to run on the treadmill with people around me than do it at
Okay.
home in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Um, I
How,
found
how
you.
how have you got your body used to the idea of running in the climate? Because actually, the Marathon des Sables, the thing that everybody says, it's not just the distance; it's the conditions that you're running in, and you got the heat, you got the sand getting in everywhere. Have you done anything to sort of prepare yourself for that?
Um, But I went down to, well, not for the heat, but I went down for the try and do some of the sand dune trainings a few weeks ago. I went down to Merthyr Mawr in Wales,
Okay.
and for the weekend, and I did some. I was actually shocked at how high the sand dunes were there.
Hmm.
They were really, really high, and I sort of wore my gaiters, and I wore them one day, and then the next day I didn't wear them just to see the difference of running, or getting up the sand dunes with and without them. And I practically had no sand in my running shoes with the gaiters on. Um, but I have been for a couple of months now. I've been running like with a lot of clothes on, thermal tops, couple of thermal tops, jackets,
To
long
get hot.
trousers, another pair. But yeah, and if I've been running at home on my treadmill, I've had the central heating on, my
Yeah.
window closed because my bedroom's in the attic and it gets really hot up there anyway.
Mm.
And it's to try and sort of get the feel of that heat. Um, and but the week before I go, I am booked in at acclimatization sessions at the uni, Chichester Uni. I think I've got 5 sessions booked. It's just before I go. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping that will help because a lot of the other ones are doing theirs now. Um,
So
but I've never done it before, so I don't know what to expect from
and
it.
you don't look particularly phased by it, and you certainly haven't kind of said that it's a major concern. But is there anything that you're at the back of your mind, sort of niggling away, that you're a little bit worried about? And is there anything you think could stop you from completing the challenge next month?
My very first thought in my mind when I first signed up was sort of scorpions and snakes. That was
Right.
it, scorpions and snakes. But like over the months, where we've we've got friendly on the MDS running page, and everybody, some people have done it before, and I've sort of asked around, and other people have chatted about it. I think in 30 years of no one's ever actually seen a snake.
Oh, really?
I think there's been a couple of sort of found in the tents and things like that. Yeah, but nothing, not it's not very frequent. So it has sort of settled me a bit, but it's in the back of my
Yeah.
mind still. But I think that, and another thing is keeping hydrated,
Mm.
when, knowing how much to drink, because you can drink too much, can't you? And
Yeah, high
sort of be
pressure.
sick
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it's the heat probably. But I
Mm.
mean, I don't particularly like the heat actually. um, yeah, but I feel all right about it. I feel good. I haven't got I haven't got too many negative thoughts in my mind. I'm going with good thoughts, and
Yeah.
meeting lots of good people, and everybody sort of helping each other, uh, in that time and on that journey. Because there is a lot of people. When I first signed up to it, I sort of thought they were all elite runners, and But over the months, I sort of there's a lot of people much older than me. Because I've had people say to me, "Oh, you're too. How are you doing that? You're too old to do that. What are you doing that for? It's crazy." And I said, "Well, like Ralph Fiennes did it, and he's you know how old, and he's had
Yeah.
he's got medical conditions, but he still did it." I find that's really inspiring that people still want to go out and do it. I mean, I think it was last week there was they on the news was that guy who's the double amputee, and he's going
Yeah.
he's going out there. So I mean, if these people can do it,
Yeah.
I think
What do you think of your role as an inspiration as well? I mean, you've mentioned there are a few people who have sort of inspired you and made you kind of think, well, if these people can do it and they're older than me or they've got fewer legs than me, then
yeah.
of course I'm going to be able to do it. And kind of owning that kind of that identity that you have now of this inspirational person that other people will be looking at, other runners and non-runners alike. I mean, I'll keep going about how On the Wagon isn't a running group, but obviously a lot of runners in here, but a lot of non-running people as well. And kind of looking at you and just listening to you talk and how level you are, and you can see that you're excited because you haven't stopped smiling since we've been speaking. But at the same time, just absolutely positively focused. And it's like this. You're taking on this role of the inspiration. And how do you feel about that and what people must be saying to you as well?
Well, most people sort of say to me, "Are you crazy?" Like, they
You
think
take
it's
that as a
crazy.
compliment when people say
People
that, do you?
love it. My daughters are quite supportive. They're really supportive where they are. In the beginning, when I first mentioned it, they sort of thought, "No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that, Mum." And I sort of said, "Well, I'm doing it." And then that they're really good. Um, but I don't know. I think it's sort of generally the older people that think it's really crazy. Like I've had two people today who I look after and said, you might not even come out of that alive. Is it safe to go there?
Mm.
How safe is it to go there? I said, "Oh, it's fine. There's no trouble there. It's fine." And that's what I don't think so. But things like that haven't sort of crossed my mind at all. But I think it's really safe. I have looked at it and read it, and there's a lot of information out there, and I think it is very safe.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can go out here and run, can't you? Anywhere. I mean, sometimes when I go running up the downs and places like that on my own. And when I'm up there, sometimes I think I'm up here by myself. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
So, but being out there, I think with all those people and
Yeah. Yeah.
just um, people there's a lot of people that have not even run, that aren't even runners. They're going out there to walk it, just especially to walk it.
Right. Okay.
Um, they're doing it in memory of people, I think, doing it in memory of their husband, in memory of their children, soldiers. So I just think it is,
Well, it's going to be an amazing,
yeah.
amazing experience. Well, one of the thing as well, one of the factors, and I know this because we had a conversation about it over Messenger last week when we were prepping this up. And you've not done any multi-stage ultras before, have you? This is the first time you've kind of done the 6-day 250K, anywhere close to this sort of magnitude. I mean, how do you feel about that? Obviously, it doesn't phase you, but kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I haven't thought about it too much, because I don't know how it's going to feel really.
Mm.
But last year, on sort of part of my training, I signed up for this 2-day trek to Iceland with Action Challenge, and I did that. It was walking though, like it was mostly walking. It was 26 miles on both days, But I particularly remembering the camping. I didn't like the camping, and I think that was the only part where I was a bit apprehensive and thought, "Oh, 6 days of camping." But the in Iceland it was quite warm, and then all of a sudden the temperature dropped
Drops.
quite a lot during the night, and I remember being quite really cold, and I couldn't get warm, and I was stuffing my clothes from my rucksack down my sleeping bag just to try and get
More warmth.
So I don't think it's the actual camping out. It's probably those things like keeping warm,
Uh-huh.
being able to sleep. I think about being able to sleep. I hope I'm going to be on. I'm not really camping. So it's being able to night sleep and then getting up in the morning and knowing that I can go and do sort of 50k, another 50k. It's not a worry, but they're just little thoughts in my head where I think, oh, I hope I can sleep, and then those little thoughts.
What I found interesting when I did my 10 marathons 3 years ago, now 2.5, 3 years ago, was you say the word marathon to most people, and whether you run a marathon or not, it conjures up certain images, and marathon equals hard. A marathon equals pushing yourself, and the images you have, if you've not done it before, runners crawling across the line and bleeding nipples and throwing up and hamstrings. And but the reality is, when you're doing multi-stages, you're not doing that on any day. You're not pushing yourself to your limits. You're not smashing yourself on day one and then getting up in the morning and doing it again. So for me, it was a big thing to kind of separate in my mind the word marathon and all the meanings that had to most people and to me up until that point, and taking that away and saying it's just a run, it's just a long run. Then I'm going for another long run tomorrow. And that diffused the bomb in my mind that of what it could have been. I don't know if you're obviously again pretty cool and calm and collected about this, and it's not a problem for you, and you'll deal with it as you will. But I'm assuming that in terms of tactics, it's to go off at a very conservative pace for that first day, which isn't quite marathon distance, is it? The first day, are you planning on going off quite slowly?
No. Yeah, I mean, I hope I don't want to be like with the walkers, but I know I'm not going to be with the fast runners. But I want to run some of it. If I want to run some of it, so I'm hoping I'll probably be at that behind in the middle, sort of somewhere at the back if I can. But I don't know. But I want to sort of push myself a little bit anyway. I think it's the heat that will probably be the hardest thing, not the terrain or anything like the sand. I think it will be the heat.
Yeah,
that will be the hardest.
Hopefully you'll think back to all those treadmill sessions you did in your sweaty attic bedroom with the window shut and the central heating blasting, and that will stand you in good stead for the race. So it's next month, and I've seen some of your posts. That's how I got to know about this. I know we've got someone else actually on the wagon, Kev, who's also going to be out there with you, and maybe there's others as well. But I was really kind of intrigued by your posts, and I'm very grateful for you coming on here. Would you come back afterwards and do another little session with us and kind of tell us how it went?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
That'd be really kind of. I'm really kind of looking forward to finding out and tracking your progress as well. I think you can track, can't you? We can kind of watch your.
We do wear trackers. I think you can track it, because last year when I first started sort of just getting interested in it, and I didn't know anybody on it, and I sort of looked at the website and saw how it worked, and you can send emails out to them, because I was sort of trying to find out. You can email people, but we can only email one email address each day. But we can receive emails from people. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll make sure you get plenty of on the wagon support as well. But look, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Very kind of impressed and inspired by what you're doing, as I'm sure many other people are, and look forward to seeing how the whole thing pans out for you next month.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks again. Bye for now.